I fixed it, by the way.
There you go. Yes. All right. We will get started in just a minute, everybody. Thank you for being here. Brett and Elise, I don't know how many webinars that or workshops that you do online, but I always feel like the most awkward part is where the beginning, where everyone's coming in and we're just kind of sitting here. I haven't figured out what to do. Maybe we can use AI to figure that out.
I always ask people to tell us where they are and what the weather is.
That's great. That's such a great suggestion. Elise would like us to all put in where we are and how the weather is. I will add it to the chat.
Okay. And we lost Lisa, it looks like.
She'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm back, and can you hear me?
Yes. We can.
Yeah, we got it.
Well, I'll be right back. One more second.
All right.
All right, I see a Denver, Colorado. All right.
British Columbia, Pittsburgh. Brett, there's a Denver.
Yes.
Yeah. Sonoma.
Thanks, Amy, for tap dancing for me. Of course, we had a technical blow up, right, as everyone was let in.
That's fine.
But
normal.
Yeah,
I know, of course. But let's get started, because I saw earlier this was a session people were looking forward to. I know it's one I was looking forward to. And while everyone was in the waiting room, we were already kicking it off because it's such an engaged topic. We were sharing favorite tools while we were waiting. So let's jump in. A little housekeeping, which I will run through quickly because hopefully you guys have already been with us on a few sessions, but this will be about 40 minutes. We will have time for questions, pop them in the chat and in the Q&A as we go along, because since this is a discussion and I'm moderating, we can bring them in as they come up and make this a really engaging time. Also, I want to let you know that this will be recorded and available about an hour after the session wraps on the agenda. Reagan, I am also in Mill Valley. I'm sitting in Strawberry. So we're so close and so far away. Okay, let's talk about our presenters and why this is going to be so great. Elise Bunnen, and Elise, I just totally butchered your last name, is the founder of marketingmentor.com with more than 2 decades of experience supporting creative professionals. She's authored 7 books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money, and hosts the Marketing Mentor podcast. Her expertise spans business coaching, online courses, and now innovative AI applications, which includes making an AI Elise, and we will definitely have her talk about that later. Brett Ramberg is a serial entrepreneur with multiple ventures in AI and technology, including Elephant Hop, an identity and access management consultancy, and Ramberg Labs, a generative AI business consultancy. He's a lifelong learner about tech and business innovation, and he brings deep expertise in emerging technologies and strategic business growth to our time today. Amy Nelson is the founder of the Riveter, a career and media platform for millennial and Gen X women. After raising $30 million in venture capital, she's become a prominent voice in helping professionals build flexible, meaningful work lives. She's been published in Newsweek, Today, and speaks extensively about entrepreneurship and professional transformation. So let's dive in. We don't want to talk about chasing every new AI trend today, but we do want to look at how are we really using it to benefit our solo businesses, what tools are we using, and what creative ways might we be looking forward to doing it in the future. Brett, I'm coming to you first. We're going to start really broad. Can you briefly explain how AI is transforming independent businesses and what strategies solos might consider?
Yeah, for sure. As far as use cases go with generative AI and where it can be used, in small businesses, solopreneurships, I'll say everywhere. And that's a broad answer, I know. There are so many use cases of how you can be using generative AI in your business, in every department. But as a solopreneur or a small business owner, you wear a lot of hats. Your HR, your finance, your operations, sales, everything. And so how do you, become an expert in all of that to be able to move your company forward? Now you'll learn over time, right? Just through pain and suffering of being a business owner. But having the power of generative AI at your fingertips, thinking about all of the knowledge of the internet, all the code repositories, all the, tons of books out there, all put into this box called generative AI, and you being able to tap into that whenever you need it as a business owner is phenomenal. And it's allowing, small business owners, solopreneurs to be able to punch above their weight class and be able to tap into all these resources that were previously only available to these large organizations that had, marketing departments and, operations managers and all of that. You're able to tap into these models and get answers that you need to be able to move forward on problems, on decisions, what have you. And you're doing that without having to just rely on yourself, on your little island of being that individual business owner, which was always intimidating to me, wondering if the decisions I was making were the correct ones, and just using my sphere of knowledge as the, as the data, or whatever I could find on Google was not enough. And so when I sold my company in 2022, I actually started using generative AI that year when it came out. And I look back at how many times I could have used it, and it was phenomenal. So, when I consult companies now, it's really about that, right? It's about, hey, where can I use it? How can I use it? And then more importantly, creating a habit. So when you come across problems or decisions, you start utilizing it right away as a tool instead of just focusing on the use cases themselves, since every business is different. Long story.
Thanks, Brett. And also thanks to those of you that have flagged, we're still, ironically, having some technical difficulties, of course, in the AI session. Elise got pinned, but I think we've got her fixed so everyone can have an equal stage space. Amy,
yes,
as Brett kind of laid us through tactically how people can think about it and all the ways it can really benefit a business, there's, I think, some emotional piece to this. There's mindset shifts that need to happen. What are some of the biggest ones you're seeing as people try to integrate AI into their business?
Yes, such a big mindset shift. And I had to make one myself because I feel like I am a technologically challenged person. I am part of the Oregon Trail generation, right between Gen X and Millennial. And when, AI started coming onto the scene, even though, we've always had it, right, in the background, helping in a lot of the products that we use. But when ChatGPT came out and people started using it as a tool, I think I kind of felt, and a lot of women that I work with felt like, oh my God, this is another thing that I have to learn. I cannot do this. It's too big. It's too much. But when I finally was I need to do this, I thought of a few different things. I was it's kind of go back to the 90s with the dial-up modem and have fun, right? Explore, treat it like a project. We get to learn as children always. We can learn new things as adults. And this is something that we get to learn that fuels us and can make us do everything better, faster, in different ways. So taking on this mindset of experimenting with it and with the different tools and how you can use them. And then I think, also it's thinking about, for me, with the mindset is, okay, if I really want to use this for my business, for what I do, what are the various functions that I have to perform in my business as a solopreneur? And what are the tools within those different functions that I can kind of latch onto and learn and just use? And so one other thing about the mindset is, I think there's a lot of us that don't understand fully what AI is, what it can be. I don't think society really knows all that it can be yet. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we can't use it and try to navigate with it in our own businesses. And I was recently in a workshop with Lettuce's CMO, Gabrielle Tanaglia, and she said the smartest thing about AI, when you start to use it and adapt it to part of your life, is to think about AI as your coach and not your CEO. So I don't think about it as something that will take over my world or take over what I'm doing. I think about it as something that is additive to all that I do.
And can I add something to that, Lisa? I agree with Amy. And in terms of the mindset shift, I think there are mental habits we need to break and unlearn and learn in order to, at this point in the process, begin to integrate, even remember that AI exists and can help us either do something or get information or answer a question. And I myself am still not yet in that mental habit, but I find myself, the more I can remember, oh, AI is a tool, AI is a resource, the more I remember to use it. But so I feel like the first step to this mindset shift is just remembering that it's there and available.
No, that's great, because when I teach folks about how to use it and creating that habit around using it, I break it into the framework of the trigger action reward of habits. And just building around triggers of, I have a monitor just for AI, or I have
that's interesting.
Always open, so it's always right there. Mm-hmm. And then, the action is find a model that you like, whether it's Grok or if it's, Gemini, what have you, one that, you can be comfortable with. And then the reward is to reflect on, after you've used it, is it a better response than, what you would have done yourself, or did you do it quicker, all of that. So when you reflect on it, you're more apt then next time to create that habit and come back when there's a trigger. And I've seen a lot of success myself just using it that way.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think another, part of thinking about the framework, and I mentioned this, is thinking about, the different functions that you do in your role as a solopreneur or however you work. And I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but it can seem unwieldy. There's too many tools out there. So just find some that you like and stick with it for a while before you start to experiment with every single tool. Like if you need something for visuals, pick a couple of tools that work and use them for a while before you start saying, oh my gosh, there's something else that's come out and something else, because you'll just endlessly be looking at the new tools.
Yeah. And there is a ramp up to learning some of the tools even and how they can work best for you. Yeah, we will get to it later. I mean, I'm tempted to go there now, but we'll come back. I think too that another piece of learning AI is just this sense of curiosity and creativity that it can inspire. Mm-hmm. So much so, Elise, let's go there. Tell us about AI Elise and what you've created and how you got there and how it's benefiting your clients.
Yeah, I love the fact that AI has an I in it. So I just basically created a custom GPT on ChatGPT called Artificial Elise. And I uploaded the 7 books that I've written and my simplest marketing plan and the podcasts that I've done over the years and all sorts of information that basically comprehend my knowledge. And actually today in my Slack channel, someone asked me for feedback. I wasn't available. She said, oh, I remember Artificial Elise is available. I can ask her. And so that's basically how we're using it in my community. It's an element that comes with the simplest marketing plan, which is the plan that I sell and the community that I run. And people basically have access to it to use when I'm not available and or in addition to when I'm available. And sometimes we compare, actually, here's what Artificial Elise said. Elise, what does the real Elise think? And she's pretty good, actually, but I also find that she's not necessarily as concise and simple as I am. She gives a lot of information, as most AI responses are, like overwhelming, almost too much. And so I think that's one of the things also, I mean, you can certainly ask any GPT to be more concise, but it's interesting because it's a lot of information. And I think that's actually one of the problems with it.
Interesting. At Lettuce, we have accountant AI basically that's built for solopreneurs. So we've tried something similar, but I love the sense of how you've really brought your personal voice into it. And think, that's some of the worry, right, of AI is it just feels, it is unhuman.
Well, and
you still have the humanity to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I've given her a bunch of the phrases that I use on a regular basis, and she knows all the tools that I recommend. And so she basically just uses my personality and my language. And it really, I feel like it makes a difference to the people who are using it.
Can I ask a question, Elise, just for
Yeah.
everybody here and for my own knowledge?
Sure.
Like, how long did it take you in the first instance to come up with an AI Elise that you felt worked for some level? And then
15 minutes. 15
do you
minutes.
update it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very quick and easy on ChatGPT to create a custom GPT. And you basically just tell it what tone you want it to use and you give it some instructions. And then you upload, I think at this point, it's still up to 20 PDF files of the knowledge base. And then you let it go. And I mean, I've updated it once or twice, but it works really well. It's so easy. I mean, it sounds like a complicated thing to do, but it just requires content, basically,
Mhm.
right? You just give it all your content, and so you have to have that available, and I do.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Brett, Elise has obviously brought value to her business using AI. I think you have shown us that you can do the gamut of how do you actually just create more efficiency, talk to everyone about your proposals, as well as building business off of AI. Can you tell us how you've seen AI drive business growth or business opportunity for solopreneurs?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a sales and marketing background, and when I think about bringing a product to market or even getting in front of someone in a sales meeting, it's all about preparing and getting yourself educated on what the process looks like. So one of the GPTs, since at least we're talking about GPTs, that I created was it is a corporate simulation. And so basically I don't know if you remember, I don't know, we talked about this earlier, but the books where it's choose your own adventure, right? So you read the first, I don't know, a few pages, and then it says, okay, pick one of 4 next steps or decisions that you'd make. And then, you go to this page and you continue the story based on that. Well, I built this GPT based on those rules of the choose your own adventure. And I use it in scenarios before I go into a sales meeting, right? And I'll say, hey, here's all the context of what I'm walking into. Bring me through a simulation of what this sales meeting would look like. And it starts with walking in the front door, and it says, okay, you're, salesperson walking in the front door, and, you have an opportunity to say hi to the front desk lady, and it gets real granular on it, but it lifts the fog of that sales interaction and allows you to basically come in and have a sales battle card to be able to, sit in front of a client and have a real conversation. And that's just one kind of wild example of how I use it, but it helps solopreneurs and entrepreneurs kind of have a crystal ball in a way, to kind of see things before they happen or have an understanding of the environment, and then you're more comfortable to be able to step in and take advantage of opportunities that you may not have previously. And as far as, just creating opportunities for entrepreneurs too, I don't know how to code at all. But in one of my businesses, and I had an opportunity with all this data I had on one of my Google Sheets, I wanted to be able to, pull that data out and create all these graphs and be able to tap into it on a sales app. So when I'm in a meeting, I can ask it a question, and it's less like a chatbot, but more like just give me hard data. And I was able to code this in Python and build an app script just in ChatGPT, going back and forth with the model and saying, I don't want the app to say this. I want it to say this. I want the color to be this. And I don't know how to code, but I built all that on a Google app script that I now have, as a sales tool. So again, I don't have to hire anybody to do that. It's no money out of my pocket as far as a solopreneur goes. And it's allowing me to be more efficient in these sales meetings and have data at my fingertips. So just one example.
I'm so impressed talking to the three of you, how creative and how additive you've been using AI to make yourself smarter, make yourself look smarter. So, I mean, Amy, even to that point, right, that solos, a lot of our opportunity, especially in the consulting world, is thought leadership. Mm-hmm. Have you found AI to be helpful for you in thinking about how to, create some thought leadership or unique points of view?
Yes. And actually, a lot of what we do at the Riveter is help women figure out how to use thought leadership to tell the world what they're good at so that more people can choose them. Because like on a base level, nobody can hire you or refer someone to you or put you on a stage if they don't know who you are and what you do. And kind of one of the most common objections I've always heard about using thought leadership to build your business, grow your career, whatever, is like, I have a job. I have a million things to do. I cannot become like an influencer or creator or create all of this content to share what I know. But I think one of the amazing things that AI can help us do is help us do the research and summarize the research, that we constantly have a flow of information to share with the world about our industry, about trends. And I really don't like AI generated thought leadership that people post anywhere. It's so obvious as to what it is right now. However, using AI to give yourself a constant flow of information, of newsworthy topics of what's happening so that you have something to give your expert opinion about is amazing. There are so many tools out there that can summarize long podcasts, that can summarize research papers, that can, just to distill things, PowerPoint presentations, kind of anything. And then you can offer your opinion on it. And I love having the ability to do that. Some of the tools I use, and again, there are so many, but some of the tools I use are like Any Summary. I use Compose.ai, which helps with like YouTube videos. But Any Summary will take, like a journal article and summarize it for you. So then you can provide your opinions.
All right, Amy, rip the Band-Aid. Let's go there. Let's do a quick round robin on, let me give you your 3 favorite tools and maybe one quick and easy way someone can get started using AI. I'm seeing this question of like, how would your average freelancer use it? You're not ready to build your own custom GPT, but you want to start playing around. So that may overlap with your tool question. Elise, can we start with you?
Sure. I think 3 is too many, actually. And I want to start by saying, to me, the best opportunity for solopreneurs and freelancers especially is using AI to remove obstacles, because there's so many things that get in our way, whether it's, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to charge, or all of these questions. So if that becomes an obstacle and you find yourself stuck, then you go to the AI and you help yourself get unstuck, basically. And so one of the things, and someone put this in the chat also, I can see NotebookLM is an awesome tool, because basically you upload a piece of content that you can then interact with and ask questions of the actual thing. So my simplest marketing plan, for example, I upload it and then people can ask questions of the document instead of reading the whole thing, basically. So that's a really interesting tool, especially if, for example, you're a copywriter and your client gives you tons of information that you have to read and digest before you actually do the project. One way to kind of shortcut reading all of that stuff is to use something like NotebookLM. And then the other thing, I really like Perplexity, because one of the things I'm teaching people is how to find clients with AI, actual literal clients. Because again, one of these obstacles is, but I don't know who to go after. I don't know who to pursue. Well, let's ask the AI. And Perplexity is focused on search, and it's really good at searching for actual people that you could reach out to. And then, of course, you're going to have to do it.
That's great. Brett, your favorite tool?
I'm going to say NotebookLM again. I love it. And one of the ways I use it is for the podcast creator. So, I'll get information, PDFs, what have you, about, a company or an industry or what have you. I'll upload it in and then have it create a 12-minute podcast and then walk my dog around the block and just listen to it. It's so cool. It's great. And then in NotebookLM Plus, you can actually interact, through chat with that model. In the podcast and kind of steer it, and keep it in its lane, which is really cool because then you can get super granular on what you want to know and learn, but you're listening to it and you're multitasking at the same time, which my dog appreciates.
Amy, you already said yours, but have you used NotebookLM too? What are you missing out?
I don't. But there are a couple of other tools that I really like on the marketing side because I, do a lot of marketing and creating visuals for people to look at. And I love Canva, one of the earlies and the greats. Like it allows, obviously I am not an expert graphic designer and there are amazing people who do that. But if you're a solo and you need to do some of it on your own, Canva is incredible for that. And it's just such a fantastic product. And it's always changing in a way that is not scary, in a way that is easy to use. And so I think it's a really great, standby. And then also I would say like on the video side, when you are creating videos, if you have a podcast or, if you want to share clips from a webinar, there are a lot of great platforms to do it, but I use Riverside. And Riverside is a great example of something that's evolved over time to really use AI because it helps you create clips of your long videos. And you can train the AI within Riverside as to what kind of clips you want. And if you're using it a lot frequently, like I do, it's like having an assistant right there next to you. And it makes my work so much easier.
Yeah, that's great. I will just add, if you're doing presentations, I like Beautiful AI. And what everyone missed as we were heading into the chat was I've been seeing a lot about Napkin this week and just played with it yesterday. So just as a curious one, you can put in all your copy and it spits out like visual ways to show it, which is something I hadn't seen yet. And Patrick, I see your question about lead generation and inbound marketing. I think Elise hit on that a little bit, but I can also tell you that this came up in the networking session yesterday. So if you weren't in that one, go back and watch that recording. But I'll put it out here. Is there ways for streamlining business processes? Obviously at Lettuce, that's a big passion for us, but just those admin-y things that are hard as a solo. Do you guys have a tool or a process to use AI to help with that?
I use GPTs for that. I'm able to build a statement of work builder. I've built a statement of work builder in there for each of our products. So all I do is upload the transcript from the meeting I have. And so on Google Workspace, I just have the meeting transcribed. So I can just take that, put it into the GPT, and the GPT is full of previous, statement of works or projects that we've done that have been successful, and it just builds it out. I give it to one of my engineers, sometimes two, depending on how complex it is, and then they go through it. And typically that would take us probably a day to put that whole thing together because the technical environments are so complex. But we have all that data now, and we're able to just build it out literally in 30 minutes compared to a day.
Yeah. Elise, this is something what Brett just said about the efficiency that AI is giving all of us as solos, things that even client work that might have taken us longer, that we chat, that brings up a question about, does this affect have you talked to your clients about if it affects their pricing, right? Like if AI is going to make you more efficient, should you be charging your clients less? Should you be, how might we think about that?
Right. The short answer is no. In fact, it might be more. To me, pricing is all about the value that you bring, not how long something takes you, number one. And the only way to communicate that is through your marketing, basically. And so if you're not doing your marketing, then a client or a prospect may come to you and imagine that all you're going to do, and sometimes they'll actually use that language, right? This should only take you an hour. This won't take you too long, right? That's a red flag. That's a bad prospect, number one, because they don't know how long it's going to take you. They don't know what your process is. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you, as long as you deliver the value that they need and the quality that they need as well. And of course, they have to value that quality. So I don't think, depending on who you're talking to and who your clients are, that you should be pricing any lower just because you're using AI. again, maybe more.
I love it. Why don't we kind of come to the, just so that you guys know, we've come to the end. Amy, you wanted to pop in on something?
I had one more tool, and this, it's kind of like it's a mix of business and personal. And I don't know if anyone else out there is juggling a bunch of kids and work, but I am. And one of the tools I really like is Before Sunset, which helps me create to-do lists, and I can weave in work and personal. It's very easy to use, and I think I hope that AI helps us do so many things in our lives beyond work, which is to help us, be more efficient in our personal lives and communicate better. And Before Sunset's a great tool to do that.
That's great.
So I have one real quick too. I see Penny Kelly mention make in the chat there. If you just go on to make.com or onto N8N, you can actually look at all the automations that people have or have been building just to give yourself some ideas of how automations are being used. I mean, there's thousands of templates out there of how people are using like make.com or, the other platforms to make these automations, but it gives you an understanding of what's available. And then of course, Upwork, is full of folks that can build them out for you, or you can try to learn yourself through, an AI platform. But yeah, good call out there, Penny.
I like this energy of like sharing all the different tools we're doing, but it also is reminding me that way back towards the beginning of our conversation, we talked about don't bounce to all the new things, like really start to learn. So I just want to loop back there. I think, and maybe, Elise, I'll send this your way. How can you find and make choices on what AI you should lean into? And then the follow-up question in my mind is that, like, how do you learn it? How do you, figure out if it's working for you and if it's time to bring in something new or amp up?
I actually think the answer to both questions is the same, and that is that you just have to try it and do it and see if it gives you what you need or something that's helpful. When I was actually teaching how to find clients with AI last summer, part of my course basically said, try this prompt with 7 or 8 different AIs. And I quickly changed that to, all right, 2 at the most, because it just became overwhelming. And then you can't even keep track of what the difference is from one to the next. So I personally think go with the most popular one at this point. And if it's working for you, great. If the free version is fine for you, great. If you want a little bit more, pay for it. I don't think everyone has to pay for it. And I especially don't think we need to be keeping up, as it were, with all the changes, because they're just happening way too fast. But I will say the one that hasn't come up yet and that I really love and have on my phone is Pi, P-I.
That one is in the chat.
It just came up.
Yeah, no, I love Pi, and I love it because it's more like a person you can talk to, and it has been the whole time. That was kind of the initial idea behind it. Now a lot of the other ones are becoming more like that. But I just find that the thing about AI is that on a personal level, it allows me to indulge my curiosity. Basically, all those questions that come to your mind over the course of any day or month that you don't have time to go looking for the answer to right now. Right, with AI on your phone, you can just ask the question and get the answer from something, about cooking or a plant that you see or just a philosophical question that comes to your mind. Like any of these things, we can now really indulge our curiosity. And for people who love to learn, like I do, I just think that's amazing.
Brett, you were an early adopter on AI and really taught yourself and continue to teach yourself. So is there advice that you can distill from that from solos who, it's not their full-time job, but they need to teach themselves how to use AI to make their jobs better?
I'd say first, do not go to the website. There is an AI for that because it is an aggregate of every AI platform out there and all the new ones, and it is overload. But yeah, the easiest way, honestly, is to use it in your personal life. That is the easiest way. Make meal plans. Try to come up with ideas for your kid's birthday party. Just start using it in your personal life, and you'll just start understanding what your inputs, how your different inputs change the outputs, and how they respond to you, and how they work, and how you respond to what they're outputting to you and how you can get more granular. Just start using it for just everyday things and use the habit, framework of trigger, action, reward, and over again. And yeah, it'll just be a tool in your tool belt as you go through your entrepreneurship journey.
I just want to let everyone in the audience know we've got about 5 minutes left. So you guys have been great about giving us questions along the way. But if you have any that are burning, start popping them in now.
I'd love to share my LinkedIn profile in the chat if that's okay.
Me too.
Yes.
All right.
The conversation will definitely continue outside of this session. Jolene has a existential question that I will actually, even as a moderator, give you a little answer to and then put it out there, because I think AI is making us all think a little bit about our place in the world. And her question is, are you concerned about the environmental impact due to the massive amounts of energy? And Jolene, I will just offer that our school where my kids go had a session on AI a couple years ago, and we were lucky enough to have parents that include the founder of Fitbit, a guy that's working with the Defense Department on counterintelligence AI, and the head of the Intel Design Lab, who was my favorite because she came at it from a very feminine, I think, women point of view, not, it didn't feel sciencey. And her answer to that question was, she thinks AI is our only hope to solve climate change. So some of these other existential crises that we're dealing with, like how is it going to affect jobs and how might it affect the environment in the short term, she thinks the way it thinks will be our only way to start solving some of these bigger climate change questions. Clearly stuck with me, and it's what I tell myself every time I get worried about AI. It's like, I trust her.
I will just add, like, for what it's worth, that, a lot of data centers where the internet lives take up an enormous amount of, water, like, and also, yes, they're in some ways creating some environmental havoc. And one of the things about AI is it doesn't demand the latency that, a lot of internet users require, that, it needs to be automatic, it needs to be instant. And so it uses more power. And AI doesn't necessarily have to have that kind of quick speed. And so it's taking less than, kind of more traditional internet usage, for what that's worth. I mean, it's kind of like a layer of not great options, but it's where we are. So there's that positive to it. Lisa, trying to add to your positivity.
Yeah. So keeping with the existential crisis piece, there is that worry that it's going to take our jobs. But I think the way you all have talked about it, and I think just knowing the three of you in our prep session, there is this sense that AI still needs humanity. So Elise, I'm going to come back to you because you're the one with the, the counter personality on AI. What advice do you have for making sure that people are using AI with humanity in mind and evolving themselves to take advantage of it to grow, not replace?
Yeah, I mean, the way I think about business in general is that you have to listen to the market and be totally flexible as things change and watch the needs of the market change and then follow that and basically offer anything that you can see that it needs. And so I don't think we should be, imagine that it's not going to take jobs. It will. It'll take the mediocre jobs, especially. And so basically what we need to do is ramp up the way we think, and also, more important, the way we show our caring for our clients and the people in the marketplace. And I think that's the place. I've read a book recently called The Last Human Job by Allison, which is awesome. And she identifies this thing she calls connective labor, which is, she's calling the last human job, the way we interact with people. And that's what I am focusing on and teaching my clients how to do, because I think that is going to be necessary no matter what AI does and takes.
I love it. Oh, Amy, go.
I would just add, in terms of what Elise said about being flexible and being ready to pivot, I think it becomes even more important that you tell the world what you're good at, what you do, and put yourself out there, because you're better prepared to pivot and flex when you have a broader, more authentic network of human beings who can connect you to opportunities. And it keeps your finger on the pulse by being on, these platforms and being at these conferences. So I think it's just even more important today to be sharing what you know with the world.
I love this is the vibe that we're ending this conversation on. But Brett, I also want to give you a mic drop moment from a question in the chat that is close to where we started again off stage. Which one's better, ChatGPT or Claude?
Depends on your use case.
Oh!
It does.
Claude's so good at just human interaction, right? Like it's so good at that. ChatGPT, I feel like, is good at just building models around the GPTs and operations and all of that. So and then they just released, deep research. I mean, that's hard. Both. I mean, $40, for both a month.
I love it. And if you're an S-Corp, you can write it off as part of your business.
There we go.
So there is an S-Corp session I think you all just missed. I encourage you to get in the recordings. I want to thank the incredible humans we had on our panel and in the audience today. If you would like to keep learning with Lettuce, on Monday, you'll get an email to be part of our solo challenge where you can put some things into practice, maybe even some AI prompts. We'll build that in. And I'll see everybody in the rest of the sessions. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye.
Thank you.